The wedding officiant called the bride the B word. I was a bridesmaid, and my then husband was the best man for a very sweet couple. They hired the pastor from the groom's parents' church. The rehearsal went totally fine. But day of, mid vows, the pastor said to the groom, "And do you take her to be your lawfully wedded wife, even when she's being a
Bitch.
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 Wait, what?
Did he just. What did he just say?
dead silence?"
Uh-huh.
Groom's mother in the front row was clearly appalled. The groom gets nudged by my husband and finally says, "Yeah, I guess." Fast forward to end of the vows. The pastor skips the kiss entirely, declares them husband and wife, and then excuses them. The music starts. I can see the bride is distraught. I decide to yell, "You forgot to kiss her." Pastor reels it back and declares the first kiss. They're still happily married and they're the cutest family ever. But to this day, I feel like they got shortchanged. Yes,
Don't go off script.
this pastor.
Wedding officiants, don't go off script. Don't
Is
riff.
he talking like this in church on Sunday?
That makes it for a memorable wedding for all the wrong reasons. Here's an interesting comment. We went to a wedding where the officiant pretended to have the, quote, wrong script, which was a list of things that the groom wanted to get for his wedding night. He listed things like lube, a PVC pipe. I have no idea what that would be for, and 4 gerbils, before finally pretending he found the right script. It was so weird, and I had to explain the gerbil thing to my husband's great uncle. He explained that to me.
That wedding was
What?
so terrible.
This is not your day. This is not about you. Don't try to be funny. Don't try to be
Yes.
clever. You have one job, and that is to not be remembered.
We couldn't even get the bride to come down the aisle because the door refused to open.
Yeah, that is kind of the universe saying, "Don't do this."
Girl, run.
Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Myers.
Yeah, somebody needs to check on him. You become a widow at the wedding reception.
You were getting hauled off to the hospital. You got kicked in the head. Did he hit? What was it? His foot?
Oh, no, that was his head.
Oh, God.
Want to see that again? Whoops.
Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Myers.
And why did he make
Wow.
it about him?
I suspect that's who she married.
What a mess.
Wedding ends in all-out brawl.
You want to brawl? Let's brawl.
Brawling like hooligans.
Maybe we don't brawl today.
I work at a popular wedding venue, and last night we had this crazy European wedding. I've never seen anything like it.
The Peaky Blinders are here.
Before the fight, there were many signs of drug use in the bathrooms and rumors that many guests were gang affiliated. The guests were extremely drunk, rude, and belligerent, dropping and breaking glasses all night. 2 hours before the scheduled end time, the bride decided she was tired and she and the groom were leaving, which was very unusual for a 6-figure reception.
I'm officially done.
I've had enough.
We're leaving.
Then, about 10 minutes after the bride left, a fight broke out, a fist fight on the dance floor. A guest immediately asked one of us to call the cops, concerned some of the men might have guns. It was an insane brawl with broken glass and wigs.
Wigs!
And the wigs, too. Snatch, you bald.
And broken chairs all over the floor, some blood too. Apparently, they were attempting to stab each other with the broken glasses at one point. Some of us tried to comfort a crying child reunited with her mother and ran to the back to hide while the cops dragged everyone out. Then we had to come back out and clean everything up with cops still out front trying to take statements and get everyone to leave. I've seen a lot over the years, but this might be the worst so far. I'm definitely considering a career change.
Oh my God. What a mess. And how many of those folks, including the bride and groom, knew this was a possibility with the family and the guest list?
I feel like, because the bride is like, we need to
You
get
know
out of
your
here.
family. Mhm.
Uh-huh.
It's like you
Uh-huh.
have family reunion, you know the uncle who's gonna show up intoxicated.
The relative who's going to start wanting to talk about politics, the one who's going to
Right.
drink too much, the one
Mhm.
who's going to embarrass him or herself on the dance floor.
You already
But
know. Yeah.
if you have an inkling that maybe there will be a brawl, a stabbing, a fist fight at your wedding, maybe you should elope. I think that is the dictionary definition of a dumpster fire wedding.
Is this what they mean by a red wedding? During the vows, I want a bloodletting so that we can mix our blood together with a glass of wine to be shared between husband and I. Is this
Um,
real?
what?
Would I need like a phlebotomist? Has anyone done something like this or have pointers? Never heard of it.
I think you need a psychiatrist is what you need.
Or talk to a vampire. They still make vampires?
Do they still make them?
Can I make him a vampire?
No.
As someone who doesn't even like to see blood in movies or on TV, I
Right.
literally have to do this. Yeah, people are going to be passing out in the aisles at this wedding.
I'm fainting. I'm going to faint.
He fainted.
I would honestly leave the ceremony horrified or at least shriek and feel incredibly uncomfortable for the remainder of the ceremony if this happened. Do not do this in front of your guests.
Facts.
I mean,
Mhm.
if you have to do that, why? I don't know. But if you have to do that, do it ahead of the ceremony
Mhm.
or after the ceremony, that period where you disappear, to take pictures and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, open a vein then. I'm a nurse and not at all squeamish about blood. I would be right behind you leaving. This isn't a phobia talking. It's straight out horrifying.
It's just wrong time, wrong setting.
There are things you can do in private. This bride has an accident at the altar. I went to a wedding last weekend where the bride and her family were plastered the entire time, including during the ceremony. I don't think there's anything wrong with having alcohol at a wedding or even indulging a little more than usual, as long as everyone remains civil and respectful. Unfortunately, these folks, bride included, were getting a little sloppy.
Your wife's drunk.
The family was very loud and disruptive. They hooted and hollered throughout the ceremony, which I thought was a little disrespectful. They even catcalled the bride as she walked down the aisle. The bride seemed to enjoy it, but the groom looked embarrassed. Throughout the entire day, it felt like he wanted the bride and her family to tone it down. After the bride walked down the aisle and they exchanged their vows, the pastor suddenly paused and stared at the bride. Everyone was confused about why he had stopped speaking until it became very clear. The bride and the groom were holding hands at that moment, but she let go, covered her mouth, and threw up all over the floor. A tiny bit got onto the groom's shoes, but most of it ended up on her dress and on the floor.
Oh my goodness. What a mess.
I can't see people throwing up. I can't hear people throwing up. Oh, it was shocking, and everyone looked concerned, asking if she was okay, of course. Anyone who noticed how she'd been drinking before the ceremony could guess it was just a clash of alcohol and nerves.
Mhm.
The groom seemed more concerned for her than disgusted. She looked embarrassed but waved it off, insisting the pastor continue. They made it through the rest of the ceremony without further issues. My question, what about the first kiss? Because I love you,
I
honey,
was
but
just
this is
thinking
not
about that. There's
happening.
no kiss. Maybe
There
he
will
kissed
be
her
no
on the
kiss.
cheek,
Uh-huh. Or pause, go brush your teeth, come back.
Right. Oh, that's bad.
Later, she changed out of her wedding dress, which, reminder, had vomit all over it, and into an extra dress one of the bridesmaids had given her.
Mm.
Unfortunately, she wasn't able to wear her wedding dress for the photos. Even her family seemed to tone down their behavior a bit after that, you think? Which was nice to see, though they did poke fun at her about what happened. One of them joked while she was cutting the cake that she shouldn't throw that up too, although probably would have tasted a little better. I felt really bad for her, but I think it was a lesson learned. Save the drinking and partying for after the ceremony. Despite everything, she and the groom seemed happy for the rest of the night, and I'm sure they'll look back on the situation as a funny story to tell in the future. That's not a funny story I want anyone else to tell. I don't want my kids to hear that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Mm-mm.
One person says, I think I actually feel more sorry for the poor groom that had to put up with her shenanigans. And this person says, at least it did not come shooting out the other end. True.
Uh,
Could you imagine?
that would be disgusting, but a little more. I could forgive that a little more.
Nope.
That's not something that
Nope.
that you're responsible for necessarily.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it to come out this way or the other way. I don't want to vomit or shark at my wedding.
There should be nothing coming out of any
Any end.
part of your body during a wedding. Period. End of story.
Then.
Maybe the honeymoon.
No.
Well, okay, we'll leave it.